I have a disagreement now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. So I trust you heard about the firing of Kingman Lee, the conservative commentator on Twitter, over his posts.
What was that?
You know who Kingman Lee is, right? The South Korean conservative commentator.
No.
Okay. So he's a guy who worked on a college campus. Oh, sorry. He's a guy who worked on a college campus but was fired for his posts, some of which were pretty funny. He said fat people shouldn't exist, and they said that was like a calls for genocide or some shit. But other posts were like about how we should repeal the 19th Amendment. I don't think he should have been fired, but that's not something I personally agree with. But
I think we should repeal the 19th. I don't think women should have the right to vote. I agree.
Do you think you could explain why?
Why? Okay, so my position on the 19th Amendment, which is the right to vote for women, basically the reason why I say I think we should repeal it is because, well, number one, women are single issue voters, right? They vote typically for whoever's going to let them be a whore and kill babies, typically is what they do, which tends to be Democrats. Number two, women have no skin in the game. I find it absolutely preposterous that women are able to vote for the commander-in-chief who runs the military, who can send us to wars, but they have no skin in the game and don't have to go to war because men have to be in the selective service. A bunch of students here probably got loans or financial aid or whatever. That financial aid was contingent upon you guys being in a selective service, I'm sure, especially if you're a U.S. citizen, right? See a couple guys nodding along. Mm-hmm. So I find it preposterous that women are able to vote without having skin in the game. Right? Now, we could take it a step further, right? We could say, well, a lot of guys are stupid too and they shouldn't vote, which I would actually agree to that. Maybe we can impart like a civics exam or something like that before people vote. But I think with women, it just doesn't make sense, and they don't have skin in the game. Now, if she joins the military, gets some kind of government service or whatever it may be, then we could talk about that. But I'm a firm believer that if you don't have skin in the game, you shouldn't have a seat at the table.
Yeah. Well, if the state is going to impose force on citizens, no matter who they are, through taxes and threatening force if they don't pay the taxes, wouldn't you say that women, along with everyone else, has a skin in the game?
Yeah, you can make that argument, but they don't have the same skin in the game as we do. They might pay taxes and stuff, but they don't have the inherent skin in the game when it comes to serving in the military, which is what the president is.
Okay.
Right? The most important, political figure in the country.
Right. Well, are there any other ways that they could have a skin in the game without necessarily serving in combat, like serving as nurses or stuff like that?
I think if they join the military, number one, I think it should be one standard. I don't think we should water down standards so women could get in, because I think this whole woke ideology of let's focus on inclusivity versus performance, I think that's a very bad mantra. And whether people want to accept it or not, I think China is one of the biggest. Well, the biggest threat to America is Israel. But once we handle the Israeli problem, oh God. Once we handle the Jewish/Zionist problem, then we could go ahead and focus on China, because I think China is rapidly expanding to a significant degree. Meanwhile, we're over here fighting wars in the Middle East for Israel, right, which is a big problem. We've been not focusing on the Far East, where we should be putting our resources. So,
you say that we should be more like China. Well, I'm pretty uneducated.
Well, no, not be more like, but like combat them.
Oh, okay. Well,
their growing influence and power.
Okay, well, do you think that's in part with how they treat women? Do you think they treat them like better or lesser than they do here? Like, not in terms of how do you say, like humane in a humane way, but just like an ethical way, like in terms of the country's standards.
Well, they're not as poisoned. I mean, feminism is seeping everywhere, but they're not as poisoned by feminism as we are here. Which I would argue, feminism is the root cause of almost every problem in every society.
Right.
Right. Because what ends up happening is so feminism used to be about equality between the genders, but now what it's become is a superiority between the genders in favor of women. But the problem is that we're giving women the favor when women aren't better than men at anything. Okay. Right? So it's like the analogy I'll use is like, let's say you have like you have like a kid or whatever, right? My buddy Elijah always says this. Elijah Shaper, shout out to you, man. If you have like a kid, right, and they make like this painting with their fingers, right, and it looks like crap, but they give it to you and you're like, oh my God, this is so great. That's kind of how it is with women. Oh, it's so great that you're getting education and stuff, but do we really need someone else that has a liberal studies degree? Like, does it matter? Like, what is this? Or underwater basket weaving? Doesn't make sense. So that's kind of how I view women in the workforce and everything else like that. But but feminism it tells us to like encourage that. Like, yeah, like totally make that finger paint picture and let's go ahead and say it's awesome and it's Picasso, even though it sucks.
One last question. In China, they have like a quote unquote like freer market as long as it benefits the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes against the state, like whatever private company operating in China does, then the Chinese government immediately liquidates all of their assets.
Yeah,
right?
that's a problem.
Yeah. But
That's why capitalism is so great.
Yeah. But would you say that like feminism in China kind of works in a similar way, where the female empowerment is meant to go towards the state and not towards the individual? And would you say that's like more of what feminism is here in the United States?
Great point. Yeah, that's a communitarian type style, right? Which I don't think works for the most part. I think that's like, if you want to be like able to like make money, that's why people love America so much and come here, even though like, we have all the problems that we have. People come here because of the financial opportunity in the capitalistic society that we have, where if you're willing to work hard, you can get ahead here, right? Mm-hmm. There's no excuse to not be successful in America. And other countries, unfortunately, don't have that. But yes, that style of governance is, whether it's Marxism, socialism to a degree, communism, like tends to lean more on like how women operate. Because one thing I've noticed about women, one of the biggest differences after talking to like 3,000 to 4,000 different girls on my show is women have a difficulty with understanding hierarchy. Right. Mm-hmm. So like with men, right, if a guy does, the best guy, okay, you did the best today, you get $10. You did the second best, you get $8. You did the third, you get $7. With women, it's like you get $1, you get $1, you get $1, you get $1, regardless of performance. Mm-hmm. And I think that creates inherent problems as well. But this is because hierarchy is not really a structure for women. Because like for us, right, I'll explain what I mean by this. For men to get laid and get sexual access, we must rise up to the occasion, right? We're on a college campus right here, right? Who gets laid the most? The athletes, the frat guys. Why? Because they have status and they're on a hierarchy level. So a regular girl that no one knows, has no friends, can go to a college party here, meet one of the top athletes at one of these parties and one of the top frat guys and get smashed because her hierarchy doesn't matter to the male, mm-hmm. to the male. But the male's hierarchy absolutely matters to her. So this is why women don't have a fundamental understanding of hierarchy, because it's not required for them to procreate like it is for us. So we inherently know, you walk into a room with a bunch of guys, if there's a multimillionaire in there or a guy that has some type of status, all the guys naturally respect that guy and defer to his authority to a degree. Women don't operate that way. When they walk into a room, it's kind of like everyone's equal, yeah, unless like one girl's fat or whatever. That's a whole other conversation. But they don't understand hierarchy when it comes to competence. It's very difficult for them to understand it because they don't have, their ability to procreate is not contingent upon their position within the hierarchy versus ours is. So we have to be cognizant of it at all times.
All right. Thank you for answering my question.
No worries, man.